You know, when I first started this podcast, it was basically like me putting on the logo was just, on TikTok. If anyone's ever edited videos, it's just like you could put like a picture and then like text over it. And that's basically what I did. Because it's like at that point, it was just like I have to start it. Like, and there's no more pushing it off. And I'm very thankful because when I got to Cal State Long Beach, I met Rachel and also Jacob, and they helped me a lot in this whole beginning process of like learning about how the radio is about editing the podcast. Rachel kind of showed me how to edit on Audition, and it just kind of went off from there, and I just kept trying to learn more and more. But basically today, my guest is someone that I'm very thankful and very grateful that I met online, basically. And he reached out and basically told me, "Hey, I made you this logo." I made you this logo, and I looked at it and it was like really cool. And there was only one thing I was like, oh, maybe change the color because I wanted to look more like Earth. But other than that, it was just like perfect. I didn't change anything else. And it's like every time I look at it, I'm just like I really love it. Like, and but yeah, it's like without further ado, this is Luis. Online he's known as Soul's Guide. So I'll kind of let him introduce himself a little bit. We can get to know him. So go ahead.
Hello, my name is Luis, Soul's Guide on the internet. I'm an intuitive, like tarot reader, empath, herbalist, like light worker, whatever box you want to put me in. That's it. But honestly, I do find myself just being uniquely me. But those are just the things that branch out of like almost like I see myself as a tree. So many branches with different like skills, talents that I like, things that I love. But those are the main ones that I'm known for in the Soul's Guide
And
nature.
what made you kind of like start off in terms of that? Oh, actually, I want to push that question to a little bit later, but I want to learn more about you. First of all, like where were you born? Like, I guess whatever you don't mind sharing.
Yes.
Um,
So actually, that has a lot to do with like my origin story. I call it. One day I'll have a movie and it'll be like that. I was born in Morelos, Mexico.
okay.
So like 100% Mexican, like de la tierra. I always call myself de la
La
tierra.
raza.
Um, yeah, for real, dude. And I came from dirt. In Mexico, I always used to tell people like when I was like pretty small, like my floor was dirt, and we had to like put water on it para que no levante like the dirt and stuff or the polvo.
Wow.
I came to the U.S. when I was like around like 8 or 9, and I've been an artist ever since. Like my mom really inspired me to create art, drawing, painting. That's how I started mostly like in high school. Then I like wanted to be marine biologist, but I didn't like the structure of like the natural structure of like I never fit in either. So I think this is why like I was able to find myself through spirituality, through getting to know myself, and that's why I called it Soul's Guide as well. I had a page in the past where it was Hijo de la Tierra because my mom hijo is like that, but it was like Hijo de la Tierra. But I never continued with that because I had told friends about it, so they already knew. But since spirituality is so personal and it's so deeply me, I didn't want to show my face honestly because I do also do like photography on the side. I do videography, so like in my community here, I'm known for that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary, honestly, like meeting people face to face and saying, "Oh, I do this, this, this." Like mostly being scared to be judged, honestly. So that's why I don't show my face just yet. I think maybe soon in the future, near future, maybe. Um, but yeah, that's where I came from and it's where I'm at now.
Wow. More you said Morelos, Mexico, right?
Morelos, Mexico. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And I'm not sure exactly what it is, but my family, they're from Guadalajara, Jalisco.
Okay. I always
Yeah.
like if Santa Ana was Morelos, Mexico City is like LA. Like we're like about 30 minutes to an hour away. So that's my analogy in
Oh,
my experience.
okay.
Like
So
really close to the city.
you're like close to El DF, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chilango, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, but you're not there anymore, right? Yeah, you were
No,
that's where you grew up. And where are you right now?
yeah, that's where I grew up. Now I'm in Orange County, Tenano,
Oh,
and I
okay,
was in like what was the other city? Fountain Valley as well,
okay,
but mainly Santa Ana. When I started here, it was Santa Ana.
yeah. And
This
so,
is home. This is where I grew up.
and how was that transition of like going from Mexico to here? Because I kind of share maybe a little bit of that, but I'm sure for you, you know, you're saying you grew up there, so it's like probably it was like a bigger transition where like that's all you knew, and then you ended up in the U.S. How was that?
Yes, it was like culture shock, honestly. Because in Mexico, I'm telling you, my store was there. Like, thankfully, my grandma came here first. They started businesses with my uncles, and they started building the house in Mexico. But then at one point, my mom was like, "Hey, I want to like, just and work." And then she brought me afterwards. Um, and we started like the journey here. But yeah, Orange County, and
Wow. And as you moved here, like what was the like how old were you?
I was 8 or 9.
Eight.
I
Oh, okay. Yeah, you were pretty young. And then you
yeah.
and you went to the school here in the school system.
And also, like, I always grew up very sheltered. My family just like overprotective, and so literally it was just me with dirt and like out there, like literally, like one of my first memories, like my grandma, she never let me with other people because she was always scared of like influences and things,
Yeah,
especially in like Mexico, how difficult sometimes it is to free out there. So
definitely.
she would take, instead of like letting me out to like go be a troublemaker, she would take me like on adventures, trips all over Mexico. I got to climb before they shut down, like climbing up the pyramids. I climbed the pyramid of the sun with my grandma in Mexico. So my adventurous side comes from her
Oh
inspiring me
wow,
to, yeah,
that's so cool. Which pyramid?
La
Pyra-
del Sol. I don't know which
La
one it
del
is,
Sol.
but I just know it was del Sol. Yeah.
Oh, because like I've been to, I forget the name, but I went when I was in with my family. We went to Mexico and Cancun, and like we went to like Chichen Itza,
Hmm.
but I think it was like too late, so they didn't let us in. So it's
Oh
kind of like
man,
it was
yeah,
like a long drive, but anyway, yeah, that's
they're
interesting that
amazing.
that you got to climb it. Yeah, and then recently one time I saw like a video of like someone that climbed it, and you know they got kicked out, and there was like this
Yeah,
whole video. I don't know
uh,
if you saw that too, but it's kind of a side note.
it was
Uh,
wild when I saw that. Definitely understand why, but back when I went, people playing with the mountain, or the pyramid. So that was like my first memories of like the culture shock over there was very freeing, very liberating, always in nature. That's the other thing too. Like that's why I'm very drawn to herbalism because it's just connecting with Mother Earth. And like right now, I have like Palo Santo here, like burning on the side to cleanse and purify the space, allow clarity.
Definitely. And I guess one so that's a good transition to I guess what was your upbringing in terms of your spirituality, because I know in Mexico it's probably Catholicism was a big part, and like how did that, or you know, if was there anything else that influenced you growing up to where you are now?
Honestly, I didn't. My grandma always like. Actually, my grandma would be the person that really inspired me. I would always say she never says it or anything like that, but I always said she's a healer. She always helped me with the negative. I was like, I'm not saying I'm like this. Like, go in an egg, and then she would cleanse me, or like smoke cleansing as well with like copal and things from like my ancestors, things that were passed down to her from her mom and her mom before that.
Oh, okay. And
So I think that was my introduction.
what was that?
I think that was my introduction to spirituality in a
Oh,
way
yeah.
where it was never scary to me to like to burn copal, to cleanse or purify my space and things like that. And then also the movement too with the collective right now is everybody also like we're in the year all about spirituality. Also like big shifts in the universe where like Saturn is now in what is it, Aquarius, so all about spirituality. So it makes sense, and those signs also kind of guided me towards it. And also like the Bible, my grandma was very much about the Bible, how like going to church, all this. But even in the Bible, it says God created the earth and the heavens. If anything, the roadmap to our life is in the heavens. And it makes sense with all of the things that are going on.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like when you look at this time, it's just with the mixture of COVID that happened, it put a lot of people out of their, let's say their routines. So it's like it made a lot of people just stay inside. They weren't around as much as many other people, and it was a time for a lot of self reflection. And I know that applies to me because imagine being locked in when you're used to going to work in person, going to school in person, meeting people. So it's just like even now it's kind of you seeing the remnants of a lot of people having to kind of just deal with that time where it was like so much fear. And like there's the polarity that exists, right? It's just when there was all that fear, it's like now what's going to come out of that, right? Are people going to stay in fear? Are we going to transition to a different time where we're going to start realizing that love is really all there is? And I think that's a great thing that's going to transition more and more because this world really needs it, honestly. Because could you imagine an earth where there's a nuclear war? Like that
Hmm.
that is something that I personally think about, and it's something that I hope that we can avoid. And you know people like you and people that are spreading positivity online, I think, are very important because for so long social media has been associated with conflict, negativity. There's like this thing I remember back in the days, YouTube. It's like all this
Hmm.
hate comments, all these different things, and it was like so much people fighting online. But all that really was is just the people, um, not feeling good within, and then they're gonna go out in line and they'll feel better if they let it out on someone else. And that kind of leads me to tarot, and I'm curious about your thoughts on for one how you got started, but how you first heard about it, and then like what you think about it, and how you kind of integrate it in your life. And I'm pretty curious about that because like for me tarot is something that is still kind of new, but at the same time it's like I've always understood that it's basically like these cards represent, let's say there's like, because I've seen different decks, there's like, so it's like a symbols, and then based on the person shuffling the cards, they're able to interpret the message. And I think for every reader it's kind of different, but I'm curious
Hmm.
about how your approach is and how that whole process is for you, and for one how you got started. So go ahead.
So actually, so I'm a lover boy. I'm a freaking lover boy at heart. I just love like just knowing things. I'm always about research, and I was always on the internet like, oh my god, like this happened. I wonder what it could be. So I would look up on YouTube, and that's when I started finding like tarot readers, and I'm like, wow, that one really resonated with me. And one day I was like, you know what? Oh, okay. And then I also met other friends that were doing it. So some of my friends were already doing tarot. Just like at parties, just shuffling cards. When people would be like, they would like start bringing out the cards. And I got a tarot reading, and that was for my friend, and it really resonated with me. And I've always been intuitive. I've always like drawing, like also doing my own like version of like intuitive messages through drawing. So I have some of those as well.
Real real
And my
quick
family always knew that.
real
Sorry.
quick when, let's say, someone were to hear intuitive for the first time, how would you kind of describe that?
Intuitive, honestly, is just um sensing the energy based on like images, symbols. Like here, let's say so what card can oh, like the Knight of Cups. I would say like Knight of Cups or King of Cups. It's also knowing more honestly, like knowing the elements. I've always been about the elements. the Knight of Cups is a water element, which is about sensitivity, sensing, being deep within your emotions, also like Prince Charming. And it's just like looking at the image and being able to pick up on different things, and it's almost a little bit difficult to describe honestly, because when I do like tarot readings, like I'm just like drawn to one specific like aspect of the image, and then I'll say something, and then somebody's like, "Oh wow, yeah, that makes sense or that resonates." So it's just being able to pick up on different images and being able to like sense what um what would resonate with the other person without even knowing them sometimes. Honestly, it's a bit difficult to express because I think I really started everything backwards. I started being very intuitive, like picking up on different things before I even knew what it was. And then people, then when I started doing tarot for real, like people were like, "Oh, that's this." So more like explaining it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It was more like you already had that within you, the intuitive, I guess, sense, right? That
Hmm.
the sensing of the energy, and then when you kind of combined the two, it was something that kind of just developed from there. Is that where kind of how you're
Yes.
yeah.
And honestly, so in the spiritual community, they call it the clairs. It's like clairsentient, clairaudience. For me, it was always about visual. So that's the one thing. That's why I connected with tarot cards mostly because it was all visual, like pictures, images that I was able to connect with, and really like pick out what image, what like know which images I was drawn to, and then the images just come in my mind. The other day, I was doing a tarot reading for a lady, and out of nowhere, I just saw like a mama duck and a baby duck like in my mind, and I just said it. I'm seeing like you're really like mama duck, like your little duckling. And she's like, bro, like my son calls me mama duck, and I call him duckling because one day he was like gonna get ran over, and I just pulled him, and she's like, bro, like don't cross the street like that. You have to make sure that you're next to me or behind me. And that was like so amazing because it just like confirmed what I'm already saying.
Mm,
That I'm just literally seeing the images in my mind. So it's different. For me, it's like about visuals. Some people can hear things and they just like pick up on different like on your conversation. They could pick up on different things in the conversation and really like make out an image out of that. But yeah, if you do want to kind of like work on your gifts, searching the clairs and noticing which ones like connect with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And there's something that I feel like so in terms of the tarot reader, we kind of like maybe discussed like maybe you doing one live, and
Hmm.
and I'm not sure exactly how you approach like who you, let's say, who you would think about, who you would like, I guess term I've heard described is like what, the collective or something like that, right? But I want to see if maybe anyone listening could, maybe you could do something for them, right? Where like it could apply to their life, whether it be
Yeah.
in love, whether it be in, career, education, anything like that. Because like, you
Ooh,
know,
the Ten of Cups fell right out. See,
okay,
I'm telling you, Ten of Cups.
all right, I'll let you do your thing. Go ahead.
So Ten of Cups is all about like emotional stability, stable balance. Honestly, collectively, like I mentioned, we're going through a major shift. Like right now, Pluto is the slowest planet, it's the furthest planet from the sun, but it's the one that really shapes like generations. So for me, I was born in '95, so I was in Scorpio. Was it Scorpio? Yeah, Scorpio. And our generation is a lot about a Scorpio, but now it's actually moving into Aquarius, um, which is that's what they call it, the age of Aquarius. And it sits in the planet in a sign like for about 20 years roughly, depending. Well, right now we're in Aquarius. It's all, and it makes sense. That's the other thing, and it makes sense because it's all about technology, um, community. If you see like a lot of the drama, I honestly do think that COVID was kind of like a catalyst for all of this happen because as soon as COVID hit, like everything was online, everything like people were ordering DoorDash, having food at their door, like without even doing anything except just like their finger, right? Um, so it makes sense that a lot of us are moving into our true passions. Also, like I said earlier, with Saturn being now in like Aquarius, all about like your dreams and things that you've always wanted to do that were never you were never able to. Um, so Ten of Cups, Nine of Wands. A lot of us are fine. In Nine of Wands, it's all about like having walls up. It's also like the wounded warrior going through battle, just having that Ten of Cups in the back of your mind, like that's the goal. But I know that I have to go through 1 through 10 almost. And nine is all about completion. And when you go into 10, it's all about new beginnings, but starting off with the experience that you've had from 1 to 9. Um, Nine of Wands is all about action as well. And then the High Priestess, yes, this is the most intuitive card and the closest card to the creator. So it makes sense. A lot of us are moving to our truest passion, um, and really removing. Oh yeah, dude, Two of Wands. See, I get excited. Like I just see the images and I get super excited here as well. The Two of Wands. It's about vision and really being able to know that yes, you're on a journey, and it's also like being in the journey, but knowing that whatever you're gonna go through or whatever you're going through now is all. And honestly, the other way that I say it is always like I think of Mario, like the game Mario. You know those stars that you have to collect, and at the end you get a reward for having as many stars.
Yeah.
Literally, that's the journey that a lot of us are on. We're on a journey into that, and also like virtual reality, dude. It makes sense that this is all a virtual game, and we can create reality if we really tap into our senses. And not saying that you have to be tarot, that you have to be like an herbalist, but it's just more about realizing that you have so much more to look forward to, and knowing that we are spiritual, we are before we are even physical. Like if our physical is done, we move into our astral self or our light self. I always call myself before like a light worker. But yeah, it's all about like having that vision that no matter what you face in this journey. And the last card that came out is the Emperor. All about like okay, so I'm gonna from left to right. Nine of Wands is like the beginning, the wounded warrior. And then the Ten of Cups. That's all about finally getting to that place where you're clear about what you want, but there's still so much more for you. But now you're starting from a place of experience. Then the High Priestess here, tapping into your senses and your and they call it like in spiritual community, they call it like Christ consciousness, um, where you're able to speak to Creator God. I honestly I talk to God every day, and it's like homie, like I like be like that. Um, and then the Two of Wands, all about that vision, and the Emperor is finally getting to that place where you're getting the gifts and the rewards for all the hard work. And then also here we have the Seven of Pentacles, and it's here in this deck. Oh my god, I should do a video actually. I'll post a video with these cards the way that I have them here. So you could also see them. But the Seven of Pentacles, it's all about knowing that you're investing into yourself, and that all of this is just gonna work towards your highest good and your highest purpose. So I think that's collectively what we're going through. We've gone through COVID. We've gone through getting over that, losing people, gaining people. A lot of people moving into their passions and honestly trying different things out. Um, but knowing that it was for a reason. And then the last card would be the Empress and the Full card, which is all about a new beginning. And the Full card is also a new beginning, but also a new beginning with a sense that no matter what steps you take, like the passage is in a form in front of you, as long as you know that there's more for you and not trapping yourself in like a 3D world, like, oh my God, I need this in order to make this. Just making it happen no matter what. Knowing, and then the Empress is also like, I love the Empress and the High Priestess. All about being connected to the earth, but also the divine and the heaven. So I hope that resonates with somebody. But yeah, a
Wow.
lot of us are going through this journey. And I always
Definitely.
see what makes it easy is just knowing that it's a video game. You're just collecting stars, lessons on the way to your like Empress and High Priestess energy.
Definitely. And then you said something right there as a key. It's like I talked about in one of my episodes is basically understanding that this whole experience, you can look at it like a game. Like
Hmm.
when you're playing the video game, honestly, any video game where you're controlling another character, it's like you're controlling the actions of that character, but that character is not necessarily you, right? So it's like you can look at it like these are physical bodies, right? Whoever listening to this is you're using your ears to listen to this, the one of the senses of the physical body within this earth experience, but at the core, your energy, your consciousness. And you could look at it like, one term that gets used is higher self, but you think of it as your soul. Even if you don't like using the word soul, just think of it as your energy, your consciousness. And your consciousness never dies, because how can is basically energy, right? Energy, frequency,
Hmm.
vibration. So energy just gets transformed, transmuted. There's the whole concept of the alchemist, right? It's the alchemy of one state to another. And that's basically what we're doing here is we're basically being the controllers of this physical body. And we're just for one, we're trying to remember, like, why are we here on earth? And two, it's like, why what's my purpose, what's my mission? And we get thrown into a world with a bunch of societal, let's just say, fences. That's how I describe them: societal fences of what you're supposed to do at this age, what you're supposed to do at that age, what's successful, what's not successful. And it's all these things that get accumulated until we get to a point where we're like, we have to just reject it, because we realize that we're much more than this experience and this physical reality. And for me personally, that took a lot of, let's just say, mental suffering, right? I go back to the term unconsciousness, because that's just a simple way of describing of being identified with your mind, with the thoughts in your head. And when Luis is talking about, those cards, you can look at it like, for one, if it resonates, too, but two, it's also looking at it like, okay, how does this apply to me, right? And one thing you said there is wounded warrior, and like, for some reason, I that concept, or let's just say term, kind of resonated with me personally, because it's like, in this experience we're going to have the good and the bad. It's just a part of it, right? How can you appreciate the good of life? How can you appreciate the light of life if you're not going to have a little bit of the bad, right? You won't have anything to really, not even necessarily compare it to, but it's just to be like, okay, this is the experience that was negative, and now here's a positive experience. And it's like it gets you a way to appreciate both, right? And then another one you said was the Empress, right?
The Emperor.
The Emperor. And
Oh, the Emperor and the Empress. Wow, I didn't even notice that just now. The Emperor and the Empress. Yes.
and could you say again how you would describe those two?
Yeah, so the Emperor is like the male energy, and that's the other thing that I'm seeing now. See, I'm telling you, like divine feminine, divine masculine. The Emperor is the divine masculine. It's all about the action, that movement that you put into your dreams and chasing your dreams. And the Empress is all about the feminine energy of nurturing and protecting the things, having those walls up, those boundaries, healthy boundaries. Um, and then also, or maybe the high priestess as well, being able to tap into your Christ consciousness, or speaking to God, and being able to get those, like, people call it downloads now, on the spiritual community. But just having that like inner voice of wisdom, and then also call it like your higher self, however you want to call it, honestly,
Yeah.
as long as it resonates with you and helps you on your journey.
Yeah, and then you go back to that term of, for one, the Empress, but then it's also like the Christ consciousness. And like, I know for many that's a new concept, but when I might as well break that down real quick. It's like, so look at different, let's just say, people on earth that left the mark, right? They left the mark within, let's just say that they left an impression where basically people want to follow their footsteps, follow their example. And one that comes to mind is Jesus, right? From the Christianity religion. And for many Christians, the term Christ consciousness might be new, but that's one way to describe what Jesus had, because at one point he he realized basically the unifying factor is that everyone is essentially one, right? So he imbued that the Christ consciousness through, for one, understanding the wisdom of one, that he's not the mind, he's the soul. And then he also understood the unconditional love of everyone, right? You saw him hang out with different variety of people throughout his
Mhm.
life on Earth. He wasn't just, oh, you know I'm only gonna hang out with X. It's like, no, understanding that even the people in society that even now we deem as separate from us. Like I'm away here. You'll see in Long Beach here. You'll see homeless people. You'll see people, but I never really. Well, now I guess I'd say I'm not really liking that term because it's like homeless person. It's a human being that finds themselves in a situation where I'm sure they didn't want to be in that situation, right? But you have to go back to when they're growing up, what happened in their lives, how are they there on the street? And it's not as simple as, oh, this person is crazy, this person is, addicted to drugs as possible. But it's about looking in it like that could have been me, or even that is me in a different body, because nothing truly separates us all. It's in this and in this physical reality, we have a separateness of bodies, we have a separateness, let's say, of minds, but we're not that. I'm not the mind, I'm not the body. Just as whoever's listening says, you're not the mind, you're not the body, you're the awareness. You're the awareness of having this experience. And that's something I could say all the time, because I want, if it's anyone that needs to hear that, that's why I'm going to say it, right? But it's not about me preaching or anything. It's about me saying, "Hey, I've gone through my own thing, and like I'm just honestly, I'm just grateful to be here." And just like Luis was describing his story, he was saying his floor was dirt, literally. And but did Luis let that stop him? Did Luis say, "Hey, this is all my life's going to be"? He took his own path, and now I've connected with him through online. But it's like each of us have our own paths, and there's going to be the ups and downs. It's just part of the life experience here. But truly understand that you're not alone. So many of us are going through similar things. It might not be the exact, but you're not alone. And Luisa, I thank you for doing that reading. And like, I guess now we could kind of talk more about, I guess, what your thoughts are on, I guess, going forward in your life. What are things that as you describe this, like, what is your mission on Earth?
Yeah. So I wanted to just mention a bit. I love that you said one consciousness or one consciousness. I always see myself like I'm telling you, like a tree. Going back to the analogy, the tree of life is
Yep.
like if you think about it, like creator can be that tree, and then there's different branches. Some people are going to be more about technology, moving things. Some people are going to be about business. Some people are going to about spirituality. Everybody has their own branch, but at the end of the day, we all come from that same root. And I think
Yep.
that's what like I love about because and that's why I also said or in my page it says collective consciousness because I don't limit myself to one religion or one specific way of thinking. Literally, my practice comes from anything and everything that I've learned from anyone. Like literally, I could speak to somebody at the grocery store and I could pick something up that's like nuggets of wisdom. And I honestly, that's I think more of my mission, where I want to share those nuggets of wisdom and allow people to remove those barriers and say, you know what, I have the whole world at my hands if I really wanted to. And I love that also the Two of Wands is here on the reading. I still have the reading here. It's a girl sitting on the floor looking out like into like the sunset with the like inside of a house, and it's all about removing those walls and helping people see past their own limiting beliefs. That's why I think like Platica speaking is so important because I think like, and that's also like how I see myself. I see myself as that like igniter or that spark where I just want to light people up so that they could chase their own dreams, because I know there's more than enough for everybody. There's more than enough for everybody, and I don't need to have any limits, because I also, if I worry too much about other people, then there could be any that's when you stop focusing on yourself. But I really want to help people remove those limiting beliefs, see that they have so much more in store for them, and allow them to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Wow, yeah, exactly. And that's very true. You said two key things there. For the first one is limiting beliefs. And for anyone that might not be familiar with that concept, it's limiting beliefs. What are things that you've been instilled with for one since childhood, right? That could be of an origin and then growing up. And all it really is, it's like things that you've heard other people say is possible, not possible. That's how I guess what I would interpret it and simplify it, but it's like understanding that you set your own let's say ceiling, right? Like whatever you say is possible for you, that's going to be the truth for you, because you can sit there and say, oh well, this is all I can do, right? Let's say, it doesn't really matter. It just depends on what you decide is your ceiling, right? If you say, oh, like I can only do this, I can't do that, then that's going to be true for you. So limiting beliefs is getting past the ones you don't want, right? Because there's one thing to have beliefs, but it's another thing to have limiting beliefs that were instilled in you from, let's say, your parents, from friends around you, from even like the school system, from jobs. These are all different beliefs that if you believe them internally, it's more of like how you've been, let's say they just kind of like brushed up on you and you just kind of kept them. And I guess one limiting belief that I could kind of give as an example is maybe the concept of just creating, right? Let's say you're an artist. Let's say you're into music. Let's say you're into art. Even let's say video, photography, any of that. And it's like, are you going to stop yourself from pursuing that because you've heard someone say, "Oh, you can't make money from that. Why are you going to do that?" But for one, don't think about the money first. Think about what you want to do, what you want to, let's say, what you're passionate about. Like Lisa's saying, is a lot of people now are chasing their passions. And I think that's very important for everyone because each of us can add to one another. And the other key thing you said is competition. There is no competition. Just compete with yourself, right? What are the ways you can better yourself? And it's not what X is doing, not what Y is doing. And I use those terms just to not include like a name, or specifically is just other individuals around you. Those don't have an impact on you unless they're coming in and maybe affecting you, right? Let's say it's like someone in your family that might tell you, oh, it's not possible, or telling you to quit or anything like that. But those are key things. Is don't accept those limiting beliefs, and it's up to you to decide what limiting beliefs you're holding on to, because I can't say for you. And the other is not, life's not a competition. It really isn't. It's, and I used to be so competitive growing up, but it was more within the, let's say, sports and all these other things. But that's really goes down to the ego thing, because the ego thinks it's better than others. The ego thinks it knows more than others. Someone might be listening to this and they might get a thought, oh, I disagree with that. I disagree. And that's okay, but it's understanding that there's going to be different perspectives that you either might agree with now or might disagree. Then maybe later on you might agree or disagree later on. So it's just like, it's just in a process. And one thing I say is too is like, each of us are on our own unique path, right? Like Luis describing, he's like, there's no point in comparing, right? He has his own path, I have my own path. And Luis is someone that I personally, i i I admire the fact that he has that initiative to reach out to people, to reach out and say, hey, I'm supportive of your, let's say, your passion, your dream. Like he was supportive of me. And once again, I want to thank him for that, because each of us should all just be supporting each other on our own journey, because what someone else has doesn't take away from what you have, right? And you can throw in the whole, I saw this earlier, this someone wrote on the wall, um eat the rich. And that term, um I get the concept, I get the sentiment, but that has more to do about, let's say, the individual hoarding of wealth. And I think we should just use them as an example of not to do that, right? Not hoard, let's say, things and say, oh, me. Instead, for one, start as you, improving yourself, loving yourself, and then seeing, hey, how can I help the world? How can I help my fellow, for one, my fellow humans, or the people that are sharing this earth with me, and just understanding that we're not really separate, right?
Yeah, honestly, we're all like you said, Christ consciousness. All we're all one. We all come from that root. But it's just tapping into the energy, and also I love people that are doing well because when I see them, I'm like, I want to speak to that person, and I want to know what they're doing because I could apply and move myself up as well. And that's where I've learned that coming up like as a photographer, honestly, on social media, how people are so competitive. Everybody wants to work with the best model. I'm like, bro, you could work with her on one day, I work with her on another day. We're all gonna have different concepts. It's just you putting that essence of yourself that can't be replicated, cannot be like copied. That essence, that specific path that you walked up to that point makes you unique and nobody can change that for you or take that away from you except your limiting beliefs. So I love that.
Exactly. And you said another key thing there, learning. Each of us can learn something from each other, right? Even if it doesn't seem like that, right? You might meet someone and they might not have the, let's say, what society deems the criteria to be a knowledgeable on things, right? Someone might not have the insert degree, insert whatever license, all of that other stuff. But it's like if you sit down and talk to them, there might be something you can learn from them, right? I could even go up to someone, who's even living out on the street and say, hey, tell me about your life. Hey, why are you out here? Or what's happened in your life? What are things you've learned from even just living out, or not missing that roof, right? And that in the end of the day, it's like they might be missing that, and maybe they're just a day away from getting, let's say, a good haircut. um Maybe just somewhere to have a good night's sleep, and they have a lot they could add to the society that we all share.
Yes, and everybody has a story, everybody has a unique path. And also learning from other people's mistakes. I've learned from my own mistakes, from my own karma, from seeing people go through their own karma and realize that no matter what, that those stars that you have under your belt, nobody can take away from you. That knowledge, that like journey that you go on is yours and yours only. And no one can take away anything from you unless you let them. That's the other thing too. We forget how much power we have over ourselves. If somebody calls me something that I don't agree with, I'm not gonna fight back. I'm not gonna like argue. In my mind, I'm not that, but I love you for being so strong and so honest. But I'm not that. So realizing that you have a lot more power over your own self than you could ever imagine.
No, you really do. And it's like, sometimes it might be hard because we might have people that are just feeling down. They might, let's say something negative to you, but it has more to do with them. Like a lot of times it has more to do with how they're feeling about themselves. And, you know, for me personally, I've been there. You're not always going to feel happy. You're not always going to feel good about yourself. It could be for various reasons. Maybe you made a mistake that you wish you didn't. Maybe you've done things where you look back and, you start to feel bad or not accepting the situation that's happened. And those are key things. It's like it goes down to first loving yourself and not letting limiting beliefs around you change that for you, and also not comparing, because a lot of times when you compare, it's you lose some of that love for yourself because you say, hey, this person is let's there's different examples, but you might get stuck on, either money or the appearance of someone else. Or a lot of times I felt growing up, I felt pretty like weird about my voice, and like I found myself like looking for others, and then I, personally, when I was growing up, one thing I did too is like I would make fun of others, but it had more to do with things I felt insecure about myself. So it's like that's a lot of times of what we all do. And I try not to, for once, put myself down, because it's about looking at myself and looking at areas I can improve, and then understanding that everyone's on their own point in their journey. So it's not about putting others down, it's about lifting others with you. And today's episode, I want it to be a very positive one. And Luis, just by talking to him, I know that he's out there and he's trying to spread positivity out on in this world that really needs it. And we're heading towards the end of the hour. I just want to kind of leave it to you and kind of talk about what you got going on and anything you want to share with the world.
Awesome. So I just want to say that's funny because, dude, I was about to say your voice is like so soothing. You have a very relaxing tone. So I don't know, maybe in the past you were like more insecure, but now like your voice, I think that's your power, and
Thank you.
that's where I think you should find your
I,
confidence. Because people, I'm sure, like listen, they're like calm and relaxed and chill and like just vibing with you.
oh, thank you. And you know,
Um,
it's
hmm?
changed over time, but I guess it feels better. I feel better about,
Yeah,
I guess, myself in general now. So,
yeah. There
I,
you go. See me too. Me, I have like a squeakier, like more like voice sometimes, and then people tell me on tarot readings too. They're like, "Hey, like I love your voice and things like that." I'm like, "Wow, I never thought I would be here, like hearing compliments about my voice." But yeah, I'm doing tarot readings. I go live all the time on my souls.guide TikTok or my Instagram as well, and I'm just there sharing the light with people and seeing people do great in their life. That's I think what I want to do.
that's awesome. And if there's anyone maybe going through a rough time right now, what's something that maybe you can kind of share from your experience or whatever's helped you? What is something you would want to tell them?
If you're going through a rough experience, I even just like also like um the Bible, Psalm 91. If you want protection or just know that you're okay, that's a verse that I see. I'm not like very religious and all of that, but it's one of the oldest religions that has a lot of like nuggets of wisdom. You don't have to take everything; just take what resonates. That's the other thing I say. Like I'm not preaching to be like the Bible. But I'm just saying there's things that you could pick up from anything. Doesn't matter what it is. So a lot of those um, and just know that if you invest in your healing journey and you go within instead of like outwardly projecting your negative thoughts, if you go within and get to the root of your like traumas and things like that, that's gonna be the biggest like thing that you could do for yourself. Because honestly, those traumas, those insecurities, that anxiety is just literally like putting a red flag on things that you need to work on. Um,
Exactly.
so is there something that's been bothering you, like you said, your voice, whatever it is, pinpoint like what is it about that? Maybe that's something that's a gift for you. I'm sure it was a gift that your voice is now like soothing, helping people, you're inspiring people. So just know that those insecurities are things that are being pinpointed for you to go within and maybe do some healing. Maybe that's where your passion lies. You never know.
That's a great point. And then one thing I recently read too is like instead of looking at as let's say a situation that might be considered negative for you or let's say something that you don't like that's happening in your life, if you kind of change the way you look at it too, is like, what if this is happening for me, for my own development, for my own growth as a person, as a if you like if you resonate with the term soul of what is this adding to my experience that can ultimately help me grow, right?
Yes, I always say, like literally, I say that Earth is a school.
Yep,
We are light beings that come into Earth and they're like, hey, I want to learn this lesson, this lesson. I'm gonna meet these people, soul contracts. Also, I'm gonna meet this person, this person, this person. This person's gonna treat me like ish because I'm gonna have to learn self love from that person that I'm gonna have to walk away from and like earn my strength there. So just know that everything's happening for you, not at you or to you, as long as you take the lesson from every situation.
exactly. And nothing is a coincidence. You are
Yeah.
exactly where you are meant to be, or wherever timeline you chose. Because we're all you could be a different timeline. I could have today instead of coming here to school, I could have been. Oh, I'm gonna go. Let's say play games, or I'm gonna go do this, right? But it's like I'm here now, and that's all that there is. The now is all there is, and that's kind of how I want to end today's show. I want to respect the time of the next the next show on air. And once again, Luis, I want to thank you. Online, he's known as Soul's Guide. You know, he can find him on apps like Instagram and TikTok, and I just think he's spreading a lot of positivity in the world. And you know, he really made me feel even more motivated to continue my podcast by just simply reaching out and saying, "Hey, here's this logo. I thought of you and I listened to that first episode. And I just want to thank you again for one, having reached out to me, and two, for coming on today and kind of talking about your story and spreading even more positivity here. And yeah, thank you, Luis.
Yes, thank you so much for allowing me the time, the space to share my message, and I hope you continue on this, and I hope people listen, because you have a lot of like wisdom as well that you've gone through. So thank you so much for allowing me.
Thank you.